friends, welcome back to the kitchen and welcome if you're new. I'm Cheryl, this table full of joy, and friends, we've got a delicious recipe. We are getting back on plan this week after being kind of free for the weekend for Hubby's birthday. We didn't overindulge, so that's good. We had a few treats here and there, but we really kept it under control, so we weren't going completely overboard. But I've got a fun recipe tonight. I'm super excited to try this. So is Hubby. He's going to be home in about an hour and a half or so. So we're going to get this started, get this ready. We're making a zucchini. It's called a zucchini and ground beef bake, but I think it's more like a lasagna kind of thing. So I'm going to take some liberties and do some things my way, because that's how I do things around here. And so we're going to start off with a pound of our good chop ground beef. We're going to put that in our pot and get that started. But we need to get our cucumbers. We need to get our zucchini sliced up, because these have got to sit on a piece of paper towel so that they can drain and get nice and dry. Otherwise, they're going to give off a ton of water when we put these in the oven, and I don't want to do that. So let's get the ends trimmed off of these things. I got my mandolin out. We're going to get these sliced up, get them onto some paper towel, get them salted, and then let them hang out for probably 15-20 minutes while we do our ground beef. And get the ends cut off of these, and then we'll get them sliced. Get this zucchini kind of spread out. I'm gonna get some more paper towel and do a couple layers.
What he's doing with his recipes is all of them feature only a few ingredients. They're very easy to make. Most of them are very quick to make as well. I've seen him freeze a couple of things that takes a few minutes. And he's cooked there. He usually posts at least one video a week.
All right, I'm gonna get some salt on these.
Summer it might be every other week. But he'll soon be working into weekly live streams again. He should be on this Thursday, I'm sure. Thursdays at 7:30 Eastern. You know, PK Adventure Travels is on at 7 Eastern.
Let's finish this.
He goes on at 7:30 Eastern, and they kind of overlap. But you can watch both, of course.
All right, we're gonna let this kind of hang out on this paper towel while we get our sauce going over here in the pan. That salt's gonna help draw out the moisture on the zucchini. So we'll come back to this stuff in a few minutes. Let's get our sauce done. All right, let's get our ground beef going in our pan. As I said, this is some Good Chop ground beef. I absolutely love the ground beef from Good Chop. It is so delicious. So we're gonna get this in here. And instead of pulling out the onions out of my freezer, I'm just going to use some of my dehydrated onions and garlic for this. It's going to be totally fine. All right, ground beef is cooked up. We're going to put in a little bit of our dehydrated garlic and onion. That's garlic. A little bit of onion. A little bit of our Redmond's real salt. Put in a little bit of Italian seasoning. Probably about a teaspoon and a half. We want some good flavor in that. All right, we're gonna mix this all around. So the recipe called for a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. I'm using crushed tomatoes instead. I just like the texture of them better. So that's what I'm doing in mine. You can do diced in yours if you want to. I just would rather have the crushed. But that's the beautiful thing about cooking in our kitchen, is we can do whatever we want. If there's textures we don't like, substitute it for a texture you like. If there's a flavor you don't enjoy, substitute it for something you do enjoy. That is what cooking in your kitchen is all about, is customizing the recipes to fit your likes, your family's likes, all of those things. So I turned my heat way down because I want this to simmer here for a little bit, pretty slow. I don't want it to get too bubbly, too hot. But I do want the ground beef and that tomatoes to really start to be friends and really combine the flavors together and become super, super delicious. One more thing I'm going to add to this, the recipe did not call for. I have tons of dehydrated stuff on my pantry shelf all the time. This is some dehydrated spinach. I got this off of Amazon. I make a pretty good size Amazon order a couple times a month, or a couple times a month. Every couple of months I make a pretty good size Amazon order and pick up the dehydrated spinach, bell peppers, tomatoes, onions, garlic, jalapeno peppers, pinto beans, all those things just to have on hand to throw into soups and stews and whatever. Super inexpensive way to get it. Buy the this is the Mother Earth brand. I absolutely love their products. They don't put anything in their stuff. It is literally just, let's see if I can find the, oh, here we go. Ingredients, if it'll focus for you. Right there, all it is spinach. That's it. And that's what we want when we're cooking, is as natural and as healthy ingredients as we can possibly get. All right, we're gonna let this sit here and simmer for about 10 or 15 minutes. I really want all of those flavors to combine. All right, this is cooked long enough. I think it's ready for us to go over and assemble our zucchini lasagna. All right, so I'm using fresh smoked mozzarella and fresh regular mozzarella tonight for our zucchini lasagna. We're gonna get this shredded up, and then I'm gonna mix these together. I also have some fresh Parmesan cheese that I'm going to use as well, and we'll grate that up when we get ready to finish the top of it. But I want to get this mozzarella grated up first. Start assembling the lasagna. Now, one thing I'm going to do to this lasagna that the recipe did not call for is I have some cottage cheese, and I want to boost the protein in this lasagna, so I'm actually going to add a little bit of cottage cheese in between each layer. I know that it's going to make it a little bit wetter than it's supposed to be, but you know what? I'm fine with that. It's probably not going to hold together like a regular lasagna will anyway because of the zucchini, and I'm okay with that. I really want more protein in this than less, so that's why I'm going to go with a little bit of cottage cheese. I'm not going to go crazy with it. I'm just going to go a little bit light, but I do want some cottage cheese in there. I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. Here's our sauce. And as I said, we're going to be really light with how much we put in the bottom of this. I don't want this to be a really wet lasagna. We're only going to go a couple layers high with it, because with the zucchini lasagna, you get too many layers with it and it definitely will not hold together. Here's our zucchini. We're going to lay these strips down. And I'm going to go different directions with these because that's what you got to do sometimes. Grab a smaller piece. All right, I've got my cottage cheese. Like I said, I'm going to be very, very light-handed with the cottage cheese because I don't want to make it super, super wet. But I definitely want to get some of that in here just so we can have that extra protein on our lasagna. These days, hubby and I are trying to get as much protein into our diet as we possibly can. I'm loving cottage cheese. Getting as much cottage cheese in my diet as I possibly can for snacks, lunches, whatever. Sometimes I just break my fast with a huge, well, not a huge, but you know what I mean, a big enough bowl of cottage cheese. All right, so we're gonna take some of our fresh mozzarella. We want this to be nice and cheesy. Cheese is what's gonna really hold this together. We'll take this out of the oven and we'll let it sit for probably about 10 or 15 minutes and cool off so that that cheese will kind of come together and everything will start to hold. That's incredible.
just got a new full-time job, and there's no vacation time for me until next
All right,
year.
let's get down some more
I'll be aiming
of our
more
zucchini.
on then to try to figure out what I can do afterwards.
All right, just like that again. I'm gonna go down with a little bit of our cottage cheese.
Please reach out to them. Everybody is free to make those arrangements independently and individually, of course. Results here. So when we look at this channel,
I'm gonna do one more layer of zucchini, and then we're gonna top it with our sauce, and we'll top it with some more cheese. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait to put my last layer of cheese on top of here until it is almost ready to come out of the oven, only because I don't like it when my cheese sticks to the foil. I know you can spray it. I'm trying to avoid using spray as much as I possibly can. So I'm not gonna do that. We're just gonna put this in the oven covered and let it bake. So this layer up here is gonna be a little bit thicker than our other ones down on the bottom, just because I wanna make sure that I get this closed in as much as possible.
and that means setting notifications for premieres and live streams.
All right, I think that is good right there. All right, let's grab our sauce. And we're gonna go back on top of this zucchini with the rest of our sauce.
And she was really actually thoughtful about the questions she was asking while we were there. Whenever I say
So this is not necessarily keto friendly because tomatoes are not keto. If you don't want to do tomatoes, you can by all means do something else. I just am okay with a little bit of tomato because I haven't had a lot of carbs today, so I'm totally okay with doing this. And I may not be able to get all of this sauce on here. Might have to stick a little bit of sauce in the freezer, but you know what? That's okay. It can get added to another dinner at some point. So this is going to get covered with foil. It's going to go into a 400-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes, around in there somewhere. We'll check it. I want it to be nice and bubbly. I want the cheese to be nice and gooey in the middle. So we'll come back when this comes out of the oven. We'll put some cheese on it. Put this cheese and some Parmesan cheese. It'll go back in for about 5 minutes to let all that melt. Be ready to eat. All right, friends, we're gonna get started on the other part that's gonna go with our zucchini lasagna tonight. Hubby loves a good garlic bread. And as you know, bread is not in the low carb lifestyle. So I found this recipe for a cottage cheese cloud bread that looks amazing. And I'm gonna use that recipe, make these, and I'm gonna brush them with some garlic butter. And I think that'll give him that garlic butter taste, texture thing that he wants to go with this lasagna. Super easy recipe. He just called. He's about 20 minutes away from home. Let's get this made real quick. I love this recipe because it goes together super fast, all in one bowl. All right, so we need 1 cup of cottage cheese. I'm using the full fat cottage cheese, the whole milk. If you guys are new to my channel, my favorite cottage cheese to use for any of these low carb recipes is the Daisy brand. As I stated earlier, we don't have it in our budget to buy, you know, organic and all that. It's just not in my budget. I just can't do that. So I am doing the best that I can to make substitutions that are the best that I can make for the budget we have to work with. So I've got 1 cup of Daisy brand cottage cheese. I'm gonna scrape that off real quick. It calls for 3 eggs, and I'm gonna put my eggs in and I'm gonna beat these really, really well with a whisk so that I can get all of this mixed together before I add the rest of the ingredients to this. So this bread uses almond flour, which I'm gonna go ahead and do almond flour. The other low carb cottage cheese bread that I do, you guys have seen me do it multiple times on my channel. It's the bagel bread. It uses all-purpose flour or almond flour or whatever you want to use. And I typically use just all-purpose flour, but I'm excited to see what the texture of this is with the almond flour in this. So I want to get this all mixed up really, really well before I put anything in it. Before I add any of our flour, our almond flour, anything like that, I want to get this mixed up really, really well. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of salt in here because it definitely needs some salt. And because I'm making this into like bread to go with our lasagna, I'm going to put a little bit of Italian seasoning in here. It doesn't call for that, but it does say you can add whatever seasonings you want to it. I am going to put our garlic butter on top of it. I need a half teaspoon of baking powder. This is what gives us our lift on our bread. Let's get those mixed in together. And then the last thing is our 1/4 cup of almond flour. And it says that we dump this by, it says using an ice cream scoop or whatever you want. You know, I almost think that needs more almond flour. I think that's way, way too loose. I don't see how that's gonna, let's add another 1/4 cup. It's probably the wrong thing to do, but I can tell by looking at this, there's no way that's gonna scoop. There's no way. That is just gonna be a big, clumpy mess. Here's my cookie sheet. So I'm going to take this dough and I'm going to use my Silpat as a guide to get these on here. I'm excited to try this. I've seen this in recipe and I've had it saved in my Pinterest board for quite a while and never have made it. So I'm excited to give these a try. Like I said, hubby loves a good garlic bread with things like lasagna and stuff. So he was pretty excited when I told him we were having zucchini lasagna tonight. May not be pasta lasagna, but it is lasagna-like. And I think that will make him super happy tonight. So it looks like we're gonna get probably a sheet pan amount, which is good. We'll have a little bit of this lasagna left over to put in hubby's lunch tomorrow, which will make him happy. We'll have a little bit of extra bread to put in there. All right, one more. It's a little one. See if I can scrape the rest of this batter out of here. All right, 350 for about 10 to 15 minutes. All right, friends, here is our zucchini lasagna. Look at that. We're gonna get this mozzarella cheese put on here. I went and got my Parmesan cheese out as well. I'm gonna grate up a little bit of parm and put this little parm on here. I'm gonna use the big grater holes on my box grater. So I turned my oven off. We're gonna set this back in the oven and let the cheese finish melting. All right, friends, as you can see, these did not turn out like they were supposed to. They were supposed to be puffy like a biscuit. These are flat like a pancake. I mean, I'm still gonna brush them with garlic butter. Hubby's still gonna eat them. He doesn't care. But obviously that recipe has some issues, and I'm gonna need to figure out what's going on with it before I make it again. But we're gonna go ahead and melt some butter, put some garlic powder in it. We're gonna make some garlic bread or garlic seasoning to go on it. And I think it's still gonna be fine. But like I said, obviously this recipe has an issue because they did not puff up. So anyway, melting some butter. We're gonna put some garlic powder in it and some parsley. And then we are going to brush it on here. This is real life. Not everything works, not every single recipe works every single time. And I could have just tossed these, but you know what? I'm gonna show you what really happens with things so that you know if you try the recipe, you'll know what to do or what to adjust. I honestly think that it needed more almond powder or almond flour. I think that would be my opinion. But I am going to try the recipe again, and we'll see how it works next time. But you know, it is what it is. It's still gonna. Hubby's still gonna eat it. He's still gonna be okay with it. So a little bit of butter, melted butter here with some garlic powder and some parsley, and we're gonna just go ahead and brush it. I'm gonna let these cool, but they basically turned out like a pancake, and this is not what they were supposed to look like, but it's all right. We just make adjustments where we have to.
So we're gonna get these on here. So this morning it was pretty hectic and busy. I had to get 2 cakes ready.
I'm sure it's still going to be tasty. You know, I mean, I imagine how it could be bad with the ingredients in it, but kind of disappointing that it didn't turn out. I had high hopes, but anyway, this is what it is, and we're still gonna eat it. All right, friends, we are back for a delicious, delicious dinner tonight. I've got 4 poblano peppers seeded and halved. I've got a pound of ground beef back here on my stove cooking. We're making some stuffed poblano peppers tonight. Can't wait to eat these. Hubby's excited. Let's head over to the stove over here, get that ground beef seasoned up, get it ready to go, and it's gonna be delicious. All right, so here's our pound of ground beef. I'm gonna add a can of Rotel. I'm gonna add a packet of taco seasoning. I'm using the Siete brand. I've heard really good things about it. I've used it a few times and I really like it. So we're gonna put that in here. This is a really super easy recipe. It calls for black beans, but Hubby and I are doing low carb, so I'm not gonna put any beans in it tonight. I asked Hubby if he would rather have corn or beans, and he said he'd rather have corn. So we're gonna add a little bit of frozen corn. This is a really, really easy recipe. All right, I'm gonna turn this down and let it simmer for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back in and we'll fill our peppers. Get them topped with some cheese, and we'll get these in the oven. All right, friends, we got our filling. We're gonna go ahead and fill these poblano peppers. These peppers are pretty spicy. If you're not into heat or a lot of spice, you might want to go with a bell pepper. Poblanos can be very different in spice level. Sometimes they're hot, kind of like a jalapeno. Sometimes they're hot, sometimes they're not. You just never know what you're gonna get. This batch of poblanos is actually pretty warm. I made the mistake of touching my face and I'm feeling it. So if you're not big into spice or heat, anything like that, I would recommend just doing this recipe with a bell pepper. I'm probably going to have some filling left over, which is fine. I will just put it in a Ziploc bag and I will freeze it for another recipe. I can add this to some chili. I can add this, I can do some more peppers like this. These would be good lunch prep for my husband's lunch. So that's an option for any of the leftovers. If there is any, we'll see. But I just did 4 poblanos, split them in half, and that gives me 8. And because we didn't add any black beans to these or anything, I should be able to give him 3 of these for a serving, and it should be enough. If you add the beans to it, it's going to add a little more bulk to it. Try to get some pepper or some filling down in that corner down there. Peppers sometimes are very oddly shaped and it makes it really hard to fill them with anything. So this is going to bake at 375 for about 20 to 25 minutes, around in there somewhere. Like I said, I just want to make sure I have plenty of filling in these. I am going to cover them with foil so that they kind of steam inside and they just get nice and tender. All right, there's our stuffed poblano. It's going to cover these with foil. They're going to bake at 350 for about 20-25 minutes. Friends, we just pulled our peppers out of the oven. We're going to get some Monterey Jack cheese on them. So this recipe is supposed to have an avocado crema that goes with it. As you guys know, because when I did my grocery delivery this morning for the banana bars, I ordered a couple avocados. She gave me avocados that are rock hard. They're not going to work. I can't do a avocado crema with those. I can't even get the avocado out of the skins. So we're just going to do sour cream on the side. It's going to be fine. Hubby doesn't really care. It'll be okay. We'll use those for something else when they get ripe. So let's get some cheese on these. All right, these are supposed to be extra cheesy, so we're going to get quite a bit of cheese on these. Especially since we don't have the avocado crema to go on top.
So I guess he wanted me to solve this one on my own.
I think hubby is gonna really enjoy these. He really likes things with a spice to it, likes a lot of heat. So he's gonna be thrilled with these tonight. All right, these are going back in the oven. Let that cheese melt up. I'm gonna go get ready to go to the pool and we'll pull these out when they're ready. Friends, here is our delicious looking stuffed poblano peppers. These look amazing. Hubby is going to be absolutely thrilled with these. So like I said, I'm going to give him 3 of these, especially since we didn't put any beans or any fillers in these. I think 3 is going to be a good size portion for him. Make sure we get all that filling in there. And there's our stuffed poblano peppers. All right, friends, those were absolutely delicious recipes. I don't know what happened to my footage at the end for the zucchini lasagna. It was delicious. It's definitely going back on our menu rotation. We're going to be having that one again multiple times. But I want to tell you a little something about the stuffed peppers that we did last night. Hubby went crazy over those things. He had them again today for lunch. The poblanos were a little bit too spicy for me. I like heat, but those are a different level heat and they were a little bit too hot for me. So I had something else for dinner last night and I let Hubby have the rest of those for his lunch today. He was super excited. He's actually requested those be on a rotation for his lunch. So they're low carb, they're quick and easy to do. I can make them ahead of time, not a big deal. So I will be making those again for him for his lunch. If you enjoy heat, I highly recommend those. Again, like I said, if you don't like hot stuff, by all means use some bell peppers or something, even use the little mini sweet peppers. Those would be delicious too. Do it that way. So anyway, friends, thank you guys so much for joining me as we did a couple of fun recipes this week, staying with the low carb theme, high protein, that kind of thing. Got a lot of fun things coming up for the very near future. There will not be a live video tomorrow. I mentioned it in my devotional video if you guys did not watch that. We have Project Hope tomorrow with our church, since I'm going to be serving pretty much all day long with my church at the school, giving out backpacks, school supplies, shoes, socks, all the things. And so our church handles the shoe table, and so we're going to be giving kids brand new pairs of shoes tomorrow, and that's going to be such a blessing to get to serve with them there. So anyway, there will be no live video tomorrow. I'm going to try to get back into the routine of doing live videos when we get back from vacation, once things settle down a little bit. So that'll be coming up, but no live video tomorrow. I apologize for that. We're going to be serving all day tomorrow, and that takes priority over doing a live video, so we're going to get that done. And so, friends, your love and support means so much to me. I hope you guys know that I really do appreciate each one of you that come to my channel, watch my videos, comment on my recipes, share my channel with your friends and family. I love reading all of your comments. They just mean so much to me, and I love getting to sit there and just read them, comment back with you guys, and I love getting to have conversations with you about whatever it is that's going on. So I love that. Friends, please keep commenting on my videos, keep liking, keep sharing. Share my channel and help my channel grow. We just hit 1,700 subscribers, and I'm so excited for that. That is just incredible. 1670, not 1,700, 1670. We're almost at 1,700, so 1670. So anyway, friends, I'm out the door. I've got to go to work for a little bit and get a few things done. Hubby and I are taking a little road trip tonight when he gets home from work, and we're going to stop and have dinner on the way home, so that should be super fun. Go spend the evening together for a crazy busy weekend. And so, friends, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will leave the recipes in the link for both of these recipes down there for you guys to go check them out. Let me know if you guys are going to make them. Let me know if you will make them at some point. And friends, we will talk to you guys in the comments below. Have a great day, and God bless.